Hi everyone, it's Nancy here, and I thought I would come back to just share with you a few days of my December daily album. This is going to be 3 days within this video, and as you'll know if you've seen my previous videos, I am doing 6x6 pocket pages, and the way that I am doing it is that one pocket will contain my journaling, and the other pocket will contain the photo. What I have been doing is actually creating like photo collages. So for days when I want to include several photos, I'm just making a collage using the Pick Frame app on my phone and then using those to print out. I did get a little bit behind because I actually ran out of printer ink. I had some cheaper ink and tried printing with it and it was really rubbish, so that was a waste of money, but I've learnt my lesson. So I've now sorted my printer out so I can get these photos printed. So here you'll see I'm just doing some really simple clustering. I am using the Rich Cocoa Memento ink, and I'm just using that to ink all of my edges within this album. And I'm also using my corner rounder as well because I decided I wanted to have rounded corners within this album. Excuse me, just yawning there. Haven't yawned in a video for a long time. I did just sprinkle some of my gold Heidi Swap colour shine on. Again, that's something that I want to kind of have as consistent through the album. I did search through my papers that I pulled to see if I could find some sort of ledger prints and stuff, because I hadn't really thought about that when pulling my supplies out, and the background papers I'd used weren't really suitable for journaling on. So I have gone through and picked out a few bits, so that's going to make these layouts a little bit quicker. I would say these layouts, sort of the 4 pockets, are taking about half an hour to 40 minutes. I mean, to be fair, I'm not really rushing. I'm watching Netflix as well and kind of just chilling and then kind of hunting through my stash and stuff at the same time. I'm not really overthinking it, and that's why I think I'm enjoying it, because I'm not really kind of putting that pressure on myself. And I pre-made all the numbers that you could have seen in a previous video, and as I said, I've already picked out my base pages and cut them out, so that is making things a little bit quicker. So this is day 2, and this is really just talking about what happened at work that day. I had to do a cover lesson, so we made marshmallows. So there's a picture of some marshmallows there. There's also a picture of me in one of my wigs, and the fact that I had to do a detour after work because one of the kids' taxi didn't turn up, so I had to go and 2 hours out of my way to take them home and then get back to mine. So it was a long day, and I just kind of reflected on that. So I know it's not overtly Christmas, but you know, making the marshmallows with the kids was. So I've just slipped that into that pocket page, and I'm now pulling out the pre-cut bases for the back. And as I now have the photos for these days, I'm going to be working on these 4 pockets as a layout. As I said, I didn't do that in the first one because I worked on day 1 and 2 separate. But within doing it like this, it means that I can have some consistency over the pockets, using some of the same supplies. And the papers I'm using here, the background ones, are from the Teresa Collins Christmas paper pack, and then I'm using some of the Magical, is it called Magical? I don't know, the American Crafts Christmas one from last year. So I'm just pulling little bits and pieces out and cutting, mats for my photo. And I was just pulling my numbers out there, a little box of them, keeping them in. I do have these offcuts of where I cut out that glitter paper on my silhouette, and I kept that because I thought I could use that for some clusters, so I'm going to do that up in the top part. Again, this is an October, is it October afternoon? No, it's Echo Park, I believe. Maybe Jenny Bolan, who knows. I mentioned it in a previous video. I'm going to be cutting those out. I do have my Chamel Christmas box, which I did post a video share of that. So I do have a few new embellishments and goodies, which I'm kind of diving into. I had a lot of paper and stuff, but maybe not so many embellishments. So that was kind of one of the things that kind of made me go for that kit. Not that I needed it, because I had so much Christmas stash anyway, but I'm really enjoying kind of pulling a few bits in there. So, as I said, this is day 3 and 4. The photo that I chose for day 3 is just some sugar cookies that I made with the kids at work. Again, I was having to do a cover lesson because I've had so many staff off last week with horrible bugs and stuff going around. It was my first full week back at work, after kind of being off, not really kind of doing full work for nearly kind of 2 months. It's kind of, hit the ground running. So, as I said, nothing particularly Christmassy happened that day, but this was a bit different from my everyday routine, and the cookies were kind of Christmas designs as well, and I really enjoyed doing that with the kids, so I wanted to include that in this album. I made the little emotion cookies. Well, the kids helped me make the cookies, and then I decorated those ones, so I had real fun doing that. I do apologise, my camera kind of angles change a little bit because I did my camera was full. I forgot to kind of delete loads of old videos off, so I was kind of working and then realised it wasn't recording. These are some of the American Craft stickers. Excuse me, which I am just sticking down on that bottom photo. We are having a Christmas door competition at work, and I decided that I would take a picture of my office from the door, and that I would then Photoshop in so it looked like Santa was sitting at my desk, and there were some elves standing in my filing cabinet and looking around. And as I said, I'd done that all in Photoshop, and I was really chuffed with how it actually came out. And so I've stuck it on my door, so it looks like a window, so anyone walking past, well, it will look like Santa sitting on my desk. I thought it was funny. I had loads of different ideas I could do, but in the end I just thought, no, I'll quickly do something of Photoshop. So, and I hadn't actually used Photoshop for a long time. I used to use Photoshop quite a lot when I was at college and uni, and so it's quite nice to kind of play around and get used to doing your layers and your cutting out and stuff like that. It was it was quite fun to get back into doing that. So that's kind of a little cluster there at the side. I've just used some stickers and some of the LA Studio from last year and this year. Just sticking my number down there to the side. Now I'm just going to trim a little bit off that. And, excuse me, I was going to try and put a little sticker on there, but it wasn't really working, so I'm just going to stick that on the side of my desk there to hopefully use it on another layout, which I think I do. Again, I'm just using that American Crafts stamp. That's the, I think it was 2 years ago. May have been last year. It's their Christmas one. And I really like that, so I'm just using that to date everything in this album. And I've just pulled out this other piece of journaling paper that was from the My Mind's Eye collection that I've shown previously. And again, I'm just going to stick that down so I've got room to do my journaling. And I'm going to be using the same sort of brown zig pen for doing all my journaling as well. I've actually used one of my new stamps from Chamel, and I'm just going to stamp that down in the corner so it kind of looks a little bit like a postmark. It says about sort of documenting December. And I'm kind of using the banners as a consistent part throughout this album. and I'm going to kind of be changing around sort of where I place my numbers. On day 2 I placed it on the photo page. These couple I've placed it on where I'm journaling. So I'm just going to mix it up really, and just kind of see where it fits best. I did have the Chamel rub-ons on my desk, and so it is just off camera here, but I am just going to just rub that on there, and it's just a little heart in a circle, you can see there. And they are the gold glittery ones, that just adds a little bit of interest. Just getting out my gold mist to add some interest to this background. And I've just got a whole bunch of random bits here. And I'm just going to start to build my cluster up. And as I said, I'm trying not to really overthink this, I'm just trying to stick it down. I really like those wood veneers, and I'm using my bronze distress stain to just add a little bit of colour to those. Now I'm going to start building up my layers. And I'm trying not to make this too thick, of course, but I do like a little bit of dimension, so I'm using some flair in the wood veneers, but mainly it's going to be paper elements and stickers. I do have that felt flower that was in my stash from ages ago. I don't love it, but I don't hate it, and it just adds a little bit of interest there. I do come back and staple those wood veneer on, just because, you know, again, it adds another little bit of texture. And again, I'm still trying to use up every scrap of that glitter paper, and I just like how that makes everything pop. As I say, that's not the best cluster in the world, but you know, these aren't supposed to be masterpieces, they're just, you know, getting everything down and documented. So I really love how that actually all comes together. I have got these photo corners that were sitting on my desk, so I decided, as this was kind of quite clustered and sort of jumbled, I'd just stick some photo corners down there. As I said, I am using that stamp, and I am sort of triple stamping it, just so it's got, you know, a little bit of effect, and because I can never stamp them roller stamps so they actually look perfect. So just doing some quick journaling here, which is basically just saying, you know, what I told you, is that we made some sugar cookies because the marshmallows from the day before were a success, but trying to make it this great and the marshmallows wasn't going to work. So I then just checked on my phone what else I did that day. And then on day 4, I'm just journaling about the Christmas doll competition and how I had a bit more free time at work because I had to send most of the kids home because I had 6 staff off sick even, and so it was really hectic. But it did mean that I had a little bit of downtime, and I took my laptop in luckily, and I could play on Photoshop and create this collage. As I said, there's no one actually sitting in that chair, it's all photoshopped in. So I'm just going to show you the cards here in a close-up, and that is it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Bye!